Today, we have Chris and John, who we've been working together. What we were just kind of mentioning that we met each other at AU a few years back. I think we tracked it down to maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That's how long we've been working together to overcome BIM challenges, right? And I've heard some great stories from Chris and John, how they've implemented Plannerly into their workflow and how they've overcome some challenges. I try to communicate with other customers as much as I can, but it's always best to hear it from the source. No pun intended there. I'll leave it up to you guys to introduce yourselves, your company, and tell us your story. I'll be here answering any questions, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.
That's great. Thank you. My name is Jonathan Griffiths. I've been with reiSource, or one form of it, over the last 7 years, and I'm a senior VDC engineer.
My name is Christopher Allen. I've been with reiSource for the past 5 years or so, also a senior VDC engineer. And just excited to share what we've done with Plannerly.
So our story began with Reese Contracting, a name known for excellence in high-end construction and craftsmanship. From day one, we were embedded in the built environment, understanding the nuances of buildings, systems, and the people who bring them to life, working with subcontractors, architects, engineers, supers. That legacy remains our foundation. Our roots are strong there, our experience is deep, and our standards are high.
As a company, we've always been software agnostic, choosing the right tool for the problem, not pushing our own. We're now expanding that mindset across disciplines: architecture, engineering, construction, and owner operations. Our approach is to use technology in a way that adapts to the client processes, guided by the structure and discipline of our own proven workflows that have incubated within a high-end GC. reiSource applies a constructability first lens to every solution we deliver. We blend proven methods with modern technology to deliver smarter, better coordinated buildings.
How we use Plannerly in our core services. One example of a technology we've adopted and integrated across our workflow is Plannerly. It's become a foundational tool that supports nearly every one of our core services. We use it to define clear scopes for BIM coordination, assign responsibilities, and track progress in real time, which keeps our team and project partners aligned from kickoff through closeout. For existing conditions, modeling, and 3D virtual tours, we leverage Plannerly to standardize documentation and deliverables, ensuring everything is transparent and consistent across disciplines. In BIM management, it helps us build smarter execution plans and reduce friction between teams, even for construction design assistants and staffing. Plannerly supports how we communicate, intent, and measure outcomes. It's helped us reduce admin burden, streamline onboarding, and scale our operations effectively without compromising quality.
As it is with any BIM VDC team, there's challenges faced, especially with growth in organization. This is where Plannerly came in as a game changer for us. It allows us to establish consistent onboarding frameworks, define roles and scopes clearly from day one, and build repeatable, scalable workflows. We no longer chase tasks or juggle email chains. Everything lives in one place, aligned with our BIM execution strategy. And Plannerly has also helped us move from reactive coordination to proactive management.
All right. So some of the solutions to address the challenges we faced, we implemented Plannerly as the backbone of our workflow. It allowed us to consolidate multiple disconnected systems into one cohesive platform. Traditionally, tracking BIM progress required a combination of tools like Excel for checklists, email for tasking updates, PDF markups for visuals, and cloud storage for file sharing. With Plannerly, we've eliminated the need for about 4 to 5 tools, and it's reduced the number of programs that we rely on to manage BIM by about 60%.
We've actually seen a 40 to 50% increase in operational efficiency, particularly in how we assign tasks, track progress, and communicate updates. What used to take hours across multiple platforms now happens in a single integrated space.
Plannerly's visual interface also makes it easier to bring other stakeholders into the conversation. So there's not a lot of BIM experience needed, if any, to follow progress or understand our task status.
It also helped us establish a unified modeling standard that ensures repeatability, accuracy, and efficiency across all our projects. One major driver of this has been standardizing our Revit family creation workflow, as you can sort of see in the image there.
We've embedded checklists and file attachments directly into tasks, eliminating the need to search through emails and shared drives.
And so our tasks are now structured around real project deliverables. Everything is mapped directly to our BIM execution plans, proposals, and client expectations. So accountability is built in from the start. One of the most powerful features we leverage in Plannerly is its visual progress tracking. Each modeling element or scope item can be broken down and assigned across levels, disciplines, or phases. And we can see at a glance what percentage of completion our work is. This allows project managers and stakeholders to monitor progress in real time without having to dig through spreadsheets or ask for updates. It brings clarity to coordination meetings, helps forecast delivery timelines, and highlights bottlenecks before they become issues. That level of transparency has completely transformed how we manage progress and keep teams aligned. The 3D filters allow for quick model audits, especially of reference files, and as well provides a visual reference for estimation. By isolating specific model elements, such as ducts, pipes, and foundations, teams can generate quick quantity takeoffs that supplement manual 2D estimates. The labeled 3D views streamline the audit process, reducing the risk of oversight while enhancing clarity. This interactive visualization also improves stakeholder understanding during reviews, allowing for faster and more informed decision-making. Ultimately, it aligns model data with real-time estimation needs, increasing efficiency and minimizing rework.
All right. So lessons learned, specifically to our company, smaller team and what we look at as big gains. So over the past year, our team has grown by 200%, I guess a year and a half, we'll say 200%. And despite the rapid expansion, we've maintained streamlined communication and consistent performance. This is what made possible by investing in standardized tools and workflows, particularly through Plannerly. With a templatized approach to project setup, we've been able to scale project capacity by 600%, managing significantly more work without sacrificing our quality. Administrative time required to launch new projects has dropped by 75%, allowing us to focus more on modeling and coordination right from day one. Additionally, by archiving our completed projects and building a library of reusable templates, we've created a feedback loop that supports continuous improvement, reduces onboarding, and reinforces standards across all future work.
Yeah, so, as we continue to scale, we're not just managing growth, we're building confidence through repeatable systems and integrated tools. Plannerly remains at the core of our project planning and QA/QC workflows, enabling us to grow without losing control.
And that's how we've integrated Plannerly into reiSource, and we're excited about using it even further. So we do see some questions over here. Currently juggling way too many tools to what triggered that decision to add one more in order to consolidate them. How can I get my team to lose this too? So it's a really good question. And this is something, our CEO has kind of told us from the get-go is because we're a small team, we should be able to pivot when needed to try new tools. And we've done a lot of pivoting, a lot of different communication tools, a lot of different platforms we've tried to integrate into our workflow. And Plannerly was one that we did introduce 5 years ago. When something sticks after using it a few times and giving it a chance, it's one that's stuck, and we started to see the benefits from pretty quickly. So we didn't implement it across the board on all of our projects. We didn't implement it into all of our core services. It started out as a, what we call level 1 modeling, where we just need to get our team in there. We need to set up a schedule. We need to set up what everybody tasks are going to be. And from there, we saw the benefits right away. And as time has gone on, we've used to set up BIM execution plans. It's helped us standardize, as we showed earlier, all of our workflows for family building, for setting up sheets, for almost anything you can think of. We've attempted to use it for to help standardize our process. But it's something I think you have to try, like any other tool, and find a way. But we just found the benefits out of it pretty quickly.
I was just going to say, to add to that, we try not to get caught up with the pivoting situation. We try not to get caught up in what everyone else is doing, right? You have to look past the marketing and see what works specifically for your company and if it makes sense. So that's part of it. And then, being on the IT side of things, we're also looking at the admin time, managing exports, how this integrates into other tools. And so when you talk about that consolidation factor, you really have to look at your whole workflow. Are you using things because you need to, or because that's what everyone else is using? And is it worth, making the pivot? Is this a tool that you can pivot and use instead of something else, right? Like, you might not all want to pivot from Revit because it's an industry standard tool, but there are other tools within your workflow that you can probably change.
John, you mentioned before that, you used it on some projects, and then, it didn't stick right away. Was there a moment that you both kind of said, you know what, we should be implementing it on all of our projects? Was there that something that just kind of triggered for you guys?
Yeah, well, I think it's the process, right? Process of by elimination almost, when, Chris and I actually were on 2 different paths with workflows, testing different applications. ACC has come a long way, the cloud, based, for Autodesk, and it's set up some workflows that allow you to store information and share tasks or create issues. But And so we were kind of battling back and forth, trying to find a way for these, trying to discover how to use them and implement them both at the same time. And it just took time for Chris and I to get the workflows together. It's something that, we now standardize, and was there one specific project? Probably, yeah. There was one major project where I said, we're just going full blown in. And I spent a ton of time in there, so much time in Plannerly that, by the time we finished the project, I was like, okay, I actually went a little too far. I don't need to use it maybe, in certain ways. And that could be a whole nother discussion. I was so granular with it that it wasn't benefiting everyone else except for me.
Yeah, that's a good point too, to kind of show that the app could be granular as you want it to be, and you've got to find your balance. Can you tell me a little bit, some of the challenges you had, like before you had, that just made the biggest difference in implementing it? I know you mentioned a couple of things, but what's one of them that you just said, this is going to be super helpful for this?
Honestly, to even back it up a little bit further, the biggest thing that Plannerly did for us was help us establish our own internal standards. To Jonathan's point, it's hard to make a decision about technology when you're not really aligned on the workflows. And me trying to make drastic changes that aren't comfortable, I see that's kind of a question in there about the resistance to the old tools. To that, I would ask, what are the old tools, right? Plannerly does something different. Everyone has BIM execution plans in the form of PDFs and stuff like that. And obviously you can share it on a shared drive. But now you have this nice interface where you can put all that stuff together. Obviously you have chats, Slack, Teams, where you can communicate with your teams or, organize what needs to be done from a task management standpoint. But to have that 3D visualization connected to your project and being able to isolate a task and talk about it, that really didn't appear anywhere else. I know you have your BIM tracks or your symbols, but they get more into the management of the BIM than I think the project management of the BIM, if I can make a distinction there. But I think the biggest thing for us was that part. It's the communication. We have internal teams, external teams. We're on Slack, we're on Teams, we're on Zoom chat. And then, we try and stay organized with daily tasks. But when you have multiple projects going on, there's multiple issues. And then you try and organize those as best as possible, but then it becomes a bunch of emails, a Slack chat that goes down, and you have to keep scrolling up to make sure that someone saw it, it was addressed, it was closed out. And so I think that was the greatest benefit I saw, number one. And then obviously the second thing is, when the teams are trying to learn our specific way of doing things, having to just pass on that information verbally or, turning a kickoff meeting from being about the project to being about standards. We were spending a lot of time, and then having that in Plannerly, having examples there without saying, hey, this is what you got to do. You can open up this reference project. It's all in one place. That ended up saving us a bunch of time.
Nice. So last question to close it off. If you could go back to day one, and what advice would you give yourself or another company who's just starting Plannerly? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say, you need to start somewhere, and Plannerly kind of gives you a massive boost. Just give yourself time, take small steps. Don't look at the complete delivery of a project right away. Look at what benefit you most importantly need right now. Identify that and then build it out. And then everything else kind of just comes with time. But there's a lot of, like we already described, you can get granular, but it just takes time. And there's a lot there. So just pick the one issue you have and use Plannerly to try to solve it and see if the benefit's there like we did.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that was fantastic. Great to see the workflow you guys have built. Great job. And, thanks everyone for joining. If you guys have questions, we'll follow up with the recording. If you guys have more questions, you guys can always reach out to one of us. And yeah, thanks guys. Thanks, John, Chris.
For sure.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
You as well.